The Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton. Chapter 11. More and More Surprises. There doesn't seem to be anyone here, said Beth, cautiously looking around. Well, who lighted that candle? Asked Moonface, his big round face looking anxious. We didn't leave it burning. Suddenly the father bear gave an angry growl and pointed to his chair. Who's been sitting in my chair? He said. And who's been sitting in my chair? Said the mother bear, pointing to hers. And who's been sitting in my chair and broken it all to bits? Squeaked the baby bear in tears. Beth giggled. This sounds like the story of the 3 bears coming true, she said to Frannie. They'll talk about the porridge next. They did. Who's been eating my porridge? Said the father bear angrily. And who's been eating my porridge? Said the mother bear. And who's been eating mine and gobbled it all up? Wept the baby bear, scraping his spoon around the empty plate. It's all very mysterious, said Moonface. Somebody lighted the candle, somebody sat in the chairs, and somebody ate the porridge. But who? Not me this time, said Goldilocks. I was with you all the time. We were snowballing, wasn't I, bears? You certainly were, growled the father bear softly, patting the little girl on the back. He was very fond of her. I wish we had found poor Joe, said Beth. Whatever will he be doing in this horrid cold land? Do you suppose we ought to go out and look for him again? Said Frannie, shivering as she thought of the ice-cold wind outside. No, said Moonface decidedly. No one is going out of this cottage again until we're safely in the wood at home. I'm afraid we can't possibly rescue Joe now. What's that noise? Said Goldilocks suddenly. Everyone listened. Someone was snoring softly in the next room. We never thought of looking there, said Moonface. Who can it be? Shh, said Goldilocks. If we can catch him asleep, we can hold him tight and he won't be able to get away. But if he wakes up, he might be fierce. They tiptoed to the door of the bedroom. One by one they squeezed through. Who's been lying on my bed? Said Father Bear in a growly voice. Shh, said Moonface crossly. Who's been lying on my bed? Said the Mother Bear. Shh, said everyone. And who's been lying on my bed and is fast asleep there still? Said Baby Bear. Everyone stared at the cot. Yes, there was someone there, someone covered in white. Was it a polar bear? It's a white bear, said Moonface, half frightened. Let's lock him in before he wakes, said Father Bear. He might still think we're enemies. They all rushed out of the little room and slammed the door shut with a loud bang, locking it behind them. He's caught, said Moonface joyfully. Joe woke with a jump. Who had locked him in? Had the magic snowman caught him again? He began to shout and bang on the door, and then Beth and Frannie recognized his voice and yelled out loudly, Moonface, it's Joe, it's Joe, it's Joe, oh, it's Joe. They rushed to the door and unlocked it and flung their arms around him. The boy was too astonished to speak. He hugged his sisters. How did you get here? He asked. How did you get here? Cried Beth and Frannie. Come in the kitchen and we'll have some hot porridge and milk, said Goldilocks. We can talk then and get warm. So Joe went with the others, all chattering loudly about everything. Goldilocks ladled out porridge into blue bowls and made some hot chocolate. Soon everyone was putting sugar on porridge and drinking the hot chocolate. Joe poured some milk over his porridge and smiled joyfully at everybody. What an adventure this has been, he said. Shall I tell my tales first, or will you tell yours? He told his, and then Beth told him how Moonface had gone to the 3 bears for their help and all about the fierce snowball battle. It's a pity about the battle, said the father bear mournfully. The white bears are cousins of ours, and we've always been friendly. Now they seem to be our enemies. Let's hope they don't discover our cottage, said Goldilocks, eating her hot porridge. Moonface, hadn't we better make some magic and get back to the wood? Plenty of time, said Moonface, pouring himself another cup of hot chocolate. But you know, there wasn't plenty of time, for just at that moment Goldilocks gave a scream and pointed to the window. Somebody looked in, she said. Don't be silly, said Moonface. I'm not, said Goldilocks. I tell you, somebody looked in. But who could it be? "The handle of the door is moving," yelled Moonface, and he leapt to the door. In a flash he had locked and bolted it. The father bear got up and went to the window. He looked out into the snowstorm. "I can't see anything," he said, and then he growled loudly. "Yes, I can. I can see the white bears. They've surrounded our cottage. Now what shall we do?" "Well, they can't get in at the door, and they certainly shan't get in at the window," said Moonface, looking fierce. The door shook, but it held well. Someone battered on it. "We shan't let you in," yelled Joe. "If anyone tries to open the window or break it, I'll throw a kettle at them," shouted Moonface, who was dancing about waving a kettle in the air. "Moonface, the kettle has got hot water in it," said Frannie. "Do be careful. You nearly dropped some on me." "I'll drop it on any bear that dares to come in here," yelled Moonface, spattering the room with steaming drops. "Oh dear," said Beth. "Hide behind the bed, Frannie. It seems to me that Moonface is almost as dangerous as the bears." Moonface soon realized that they were right, and that waving a hot kettle around was a foolish and dangerous thing to do. So he put it down again, gently. Then the father bear had an idea, and dragged the big table across the room to block the door. Things were getting exciting. Joe and the girls were frightened, but they couldn't help feeling terribly thrilled too. Whatever was going to happen next? "Oomph! Oomph!" boomed the big bears outside, but they couldn't get in the door or window. But they found another way. The chimney was wide and big, for the fireplace was one of the large, old-fashioned kind and needed a wide chimney. One of the bears climbed up on the roof, followed by 3 more. The first one slipped into the big chimney. Down he went. Whoosh! Down went another, and a third, and a fourth. They landed with a crash on the big hearth, and hurriedly jumped away from the flames of the fire. "Surrender!" they cried to the startled children and bears. "Surrender! The magic snowman is outside. Let him in!"